Hey everyone, I'm Scott Mantz, and welcome to Landmark Theater's Retro Replay Screening Series 1999, the year that changed cinema, featuring Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, released in the United States on March 5th, 1999. And joining us right now from London is cinematographer Tim Maurice-Jones. Tim, thank you for so much for joining us for this conversation about Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. First question is, it's kind of a simple one, but how did this movie come about for you?
Well, I had been shooting music videos for, the whole of the 90s. I must have shot 500 music videos, and Guy Ritchie was in that world as well, directing music videos, although we'd never worked together. And he just contacted me because he liked my work and said, were you interested in shooting a movie? And I was like, yeah. And he said, it's a gangster movie. And I, big fan of the movie performance and Long Good Friday. And we hadn't had a good gangster movie for a long time. And I said, yeah, absolutely, love to. Please send me the script. The script came over and I absolutely loved it. So we had a conversation and yeah, he gave me the film.
So what, this is Guy Ritchie's first feature film. This is your second feature film. What were those first talks with Guy like when it came to, this is how we're going to shoot the movie and this is how we're going to do it on the budget that we have?
Well, we obviously I'd shot a movie before, my first movie, and I played that one really safe because I know if you mess up your first movie, you never get another one, or it takes a long time. So I played my first movie really safe, and I spoke to Guy Ritchie and he said, we are not going to play this safe. We are going to take lots of risks. I want this movie to look like a music video. Let's just have fun. We don't care about the rules. We don't care about matching close-ups, key fill and backlight. Just do what you do and make it look cool, and let's have some fun. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely into that.
So how did, the budget that you thought you were going to go with, and how did the budget you actually ended up having change the game for you and for Guy?
Well, I'm not sure what the exact figures on the first budget were, but we were all set to shoot on 35 mil. There's obviously several million. And people lost confidence, backers pulled out, and we ended up with a budget of 800,000. So that didn't leave money, it left money for nothing. Lucky enough, it was contemporary, so we didn't have sort of period costumes, and there wasn't a single set build, it was all locations. So that helped a lot. But we ended up shooting on 16 millimeter. We had a SR1 camera and a set of Zeiss super speeds. For the slow motion stuff, we had a 16 mil photosonics camera, which I didn't even know existed and was absolutely terrible. But, I think that all helped. What that gave us is it gave us a lot of freedom and the spirit to do whatever we wanted. So, in a way, the lack of money may have helped us.
When it comes to your collaboration with Guy Ritchie, what was that like? And also working with producer Matthew Vaughn.
Well, working with Guy is an amazing collaborator. I had some very good advice when I first started out. Like, if you're going to do a movie, storyboard the movie, have some ideas. So we got into a storyboarding process, which I think took like 6 or 7 weeks. And my camera operator and I went into the office every single day, sat down for 12 hours a day, and drew the movie beginning to end. And we would read the scene, chat through with Guy, go back, sit down, draw some boards up, some angles, go back, and Guy would say, yes, I love it, or I'll change that slightly. So we completely storyboarded the movie beginning to end. And actually what was funny is, I'm not sure it was supposed to be such a comedy to begin with, but as we were storyboarding it, it was just funny. The situations were funny. And I think during the storyboarding process, we lent into the humor a little more than originally I think was planned.
Well, let's talk about the cast. Nick Moran, Jason Statham, Vinnie Jones. You have Sting in a crucial scene there. What was your take as you were shooting about the chemistry of this amazing ensemble cast?
I think shooting with the cast we had, they were just so natural in front of the camera, and I think quite often when, because Jason Statham used to sell moody goods on street corners.
Wow.
So he was very authentic doing it. I think some people have said it's much easier to get a gangster to act than an actor to be a gangster sometimes. And so when you've got Vinnie Jones, the bad boy of football, you know, Guy Ritchie said to him, look, and he said the same to Jason Statham, don't act, just be yourselves, just be who you are, because I've cast you because of who you are, and I like your energy and your presence. So just be who you are. Don't try and act too much. Now, obviously, there's acting involved, but he wanted a really authentic performance from them, and I think he got it. Vinnie Jones had never acted in a movie before. His first scene was the one we designed with the stun bed when he's slamming the stun bed on the hapless guy inside it. And that was his first ever piece of acting. And he was absolutely brilliant because he followed Guy's advice. He just spoke the lines, didn't try and do anything else.
So when it comes to Guy's approach, how many takes does he do? What were maybe some of the scenes that were a little more challenging than the others?
Well, we actually didn't have that much money, so he didn't do a lot of takes. So I think he was getting it in 2 or 3 takes most times. Very simple. I think what was interesting was just trying to find angles and approaches for things which you don't usually see. So we would try and do quite a lot of scenes in one take. Like there's a scene when we're first introducing the characters in the flat, and it's a steady cam take. We just go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And it just flowed in, and it's one take. I think we did it 3 times, and that was it. That's the scene. Other scenes, we storyboarded quite carefully, like when one of the characters is coming up with plans to come up with money. I had the 3 of them sitting in a row and the other guy pacing. So I've got static and I've got movement. And even though the camera didn't move, the scene feels quite lively because he's pacing in front of them and that he's wiping the camera. And I think that was obviously all those little jokes we could get in because we storyboarded it beginning to end. So we knew what they were all going to be. The whole scene with the cage and the shooting. The first time you see the drug dealers, you think they're in the Caribbean somewhere. We had, first time you see one of our villains, he's playing golf. We had a big wall poster of the forest. So it looks just for a moment like he's playing golf in the forest. And you cut back and he's in a flat. So all of those things were little jokes you can do because you've storyboarded and guys approved or come up with ideas. I don't really like to go into movies, although I have done, with no plan.
I'm curious, how many shooting days did you have? And did you always shoot like on location? Was there any shooting that was done on like a soundstage?
Most of Lock Stock was done on location. In fact, all of it was done on location. No stages, we couldn't afford it. So everything is done on location. We didn't really have roads locked off either. There was a lot of traffic noise. There's nothing we could do. We had no money. So it was shooting a movie for about as cheap as you could have done back then because you were on film. And we were guarding every short end of film. Nothing was thrown away. We've got 25 foot. We'll use that somewhere.
What were the biggest challenges that you faced outside of the budget shooting Lock Stock?
This time I'm like, okay, I'm going to take some real risks. And we shot on 16 millimeter, and I did a technique which was called bleach bypass, which has meant when you develop the neg, you don't put it through the bath that takes the silver out. So it's incredibly contrasty. But that means if you're half a stop out either way, you haven't got anything on film. So I don't know. It's a hell of a risk. I shot with a sepia greeny, nasty, dirty sepia green filter to give the whole film a look all the way through because I wanted it to look like nothing else. So I shot it with it's called an antique suede filter, which puts a very strong green sepia tint on the whole thing. So even though it's not black and white, it's got quite a black and white aesthetic to it. Our 16 mil Photosonics camera just didn't work. We shot it, it came out so dark, it was embarrassing. So, sometimes I look at it and I think the naivety is what makes it interesting because I just wouldn't do that now. And I think that's maybe a shame. But I think the naivety of a young filmmakers, we're all young, we're all stupid. We're like, hey, let's just do it.
When it came to your collaboration with like the production designer and the set designer, what was that collaboration like?
The collaboration with the set design was very straightforward. What we wanted it to look like is you can't set it in any time space. And I think that works. It even kind of works today. The only thing that really gives it away are the mobile phones they pull out. It wasn't for that. You kind of get away with that today. It's the whole point of it was you don't know when it's set. It could be 20 years before, 20 years ahead. We don't really know. So, and also because I wanted it to be sort of black and white, but we can't shoot in black and white. We had to shoot in color. All the set designs were muted colors. There's nothing that stood out. So no bright blues, bright yellows. Everything sort of muted grays, browns, greens, muted tones. And I think that works. In the set direction. He painted quite a few of the rooms we shot in, and
I got to say, I have rewatched the film obviously recently to prep for this conversation. It'd been a while since I'd seen the movie, and I was really pleasantly surprised by how well the film really does hold up. It could come out today. It would be just as vital, just as stylized. What's your take for how Lock, Stock, when it came out in the UK in 98, in the United States in 99, and just how the film was really kind of ahead of its time in terms of that style and how it really does fit in with everything that's being done today.
I think the great thing about the style of Lock, Stock is because we weren't following any of the rules of filmmaking that you should really follow. We were just having fun. And I think a lot of people picked up that mantle afterwards and ran with it. And hey, we don't need to follow these rules. If it's a 50 mil close up on one side, it doesn't have to be a 50 mil close up on the other side. It doesn't matter if it doesn't match. It's the performance, it's the story that counts. In a way, it's a bit of a poison chalice in a way that I'm always judged on that movie and Snatch, obviously, as well. Those two movies are so pivotal in setting a style and a look. For a long time, I couldn't get even close to a different type of movie. I was only getting offered gangster movies, and I just didn't really want to do any more.
Yeah.
But I think it's quite an honor that so many people copied that style. And copied is not the right word. Used it as inspiration, and I love that. But we sort of broke the rules. I know people like BAFTA hated the movie, which made us like it even more.
Last question, what makes Guy Ritchie, since you wound up working with him again on the next film, what makes him a great director? What was that next step like for him, sort of taking the confidence of this first film for him and just, going forward and really over the last 25, 26 years, never looking back?
I think Guy Ritchie is a great director because he has incredible confidence. He looks at something and he knows it's right immediately, and he's a very funny guy. So when he's doing something comedic, he can see things we don't see. We have a scene planned, and he'll look and go, "No, hold on, just a second. Look at this guy. Let's move him here. Let's do that. Right, ready to go." And he'll get it in one or two takes because he's so clear in his direction to the actors. They know exactly what he wants. He's just got a great sense of humor and a great presence to him. And I think people look up to him a lot on set. He's not a weak director. He's a very strong director. He's a strong person.
Well, listen, Tim, I want to thank you so much for joining us for this conversation for the Retro Replay screening series for Landmark Theaters, honoring Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. And thank you again so much for your time. I know, I'm in LA, you're in London, and it was definitely a challenge, but thank you so much for making it happen. I really, really appreciate your time, and all the best to you.
Right, thanks. It's been fun talking to you. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks.